All right, chapter 17. The last 2 weeks of school were frantic. The students spent every day quizzing one another, going over recitations, parsing sentences, working on penmanship. Though Ida announced morning and afternoon recess, no one, except Herbert, took either. When lunchtime came, everyone ate inside. For Ida, it was a time of torment. She felt like yelling, "Let me study! It's my turn!" But her students, the younger ones in particular, kept asking for help. How could she refuse? She was the teacher. Hadn't Mr. Jordan said she was responsible? The day before the exams, Ida's head ached painfully from trying to remember everything. She could only assume everyone else was feeling the same. "Be on time! Be on time!" they called to one another as they went their separate ways after school. "Herbert," Ida asked, "you going to be here tomorrow?" The boy grinned. "Maybe, or may not be," he said, walking backward away from her. "Herbert," she said fiercely, "I want you to pass." He stopped. "You do?" "I want you to show everyone how smart you are." For just a moment, Herbert's face turned sad. Then he grinned, winked, and walked away, saying, "Never know with me." Tom walked up to the front of the old Ford. "Want to study together?" he asked. "I think I'd do better at home," Ida said quickly. Seeing the flash of hurt on his face, she added, "Tom, I have to concentrate, and I just can't do it if I'm not alone." She fairly raced the Model T home. That night, Ida worked late into the evening, reading and rereading, trying to remember and review the whole year's work. When Felix came to her with his primer and asked for help, she begged him to go to one of their parents. When he did, she felt so guilty she went to help him, got frustrated, then came back to her own work. Before she went to bed, she made her father promise to get her up earlier than usual. Then she read herself into fitful sleep. It was the day of the exam. Ida didn't need to be woken. She was already half awake at 4 o'clock. She read some more, then raced quickly to the barn. It was raining and the yards were muddy. In her haste, Ida slipped twice, banging her knees hard and muddying her clothing. "I can't do it," she said to herself as she milked Bluebell. "I had to help everybody pass their exams. They mustn't fail. It's going to be my fault if they do. I'm responsible. I was the teacher." Ida had resisted tears for so long, but now, exhausted and wrought up, she finally let him come. The deep, racking sobs were loud enough to cause the cow to turn around and see what was happening. Ashamed, Ida pushed her face against Bluebell's belly, dried her tears with the hem of her nightgown, then finished the milking. Composing herself, she carefully brought the full bucket into the kitchen. "What's the matter, Ida?" her mother asked. Ida shook her head. "Nothing," she said. Mrs. Bitson continued to stare at her. "Yes, there is," she persisted. "You've been crying." "Ma, I'm so tired." "Look at me." "Don't want to." "Honey, I need to tell you something. Your pa and I are really proud of you. You've worked very hard." "Ma, I keep remembering what Mr. Jordan said. Girls don't need to go to high school. Only shows that some grown-ups could use some schooling themselves." Ida smiled and gave her mother a quick hug, then climbed into the loft, changed her clothes. She started to put up her hair as she had been doing every morning since she'd begun teaching. Then remembered she didn't need to anymore. "I'm a student again," she muttered. "Come on, get dressed," she told Felix as she woke him. "Can't be late for exam day. It's raining. Wear your slicker. The road's going to be bad." They left a little early, Felix taking his place among the pedals, and Ida clutching the steering wheel with both hands. Both their parents waved them off, calling, "Good luck!" As Ida and Felix drove along, the rain was still coming down hard, making it difficult to see. The windowless doors meant they were getting wet, too. Besides, Ida's head was so full of facts and figures, she had a hard time concentrating on the road. "Ida," Felix called up when they were about halfway along their journey. "What's the matter?" "Nothing." "You think we're going to fail, don't you?" "You're going to do fine." "Then what?" "Felix," Ida snapped, I'm trying to think about my own test. She wiped the rainwater off her face. Do you think you'll fail? Stop talking to me, Ida yelled at him and pulled down the gas lever. The car accelerated faster than Ida expected. Brake! Brake! She yelled. Frightened by the alarm in Ida's voice, Felix shoved down the brake pedal with both hands. The wheels locked. The car skidded. Ida spun the wheel. Too late. The car slid into a ditch. The motor backfired, and died. What happened? Felix asked. We've gone off the road, Ida said, horrified. Ida sat there leaning on the wheel, too numb to do anything. Felix crawled up to the seat next to her. Ida, he asked cautiously as he tried to peer outside, how far are we from school? I don't know, Ida said. Halfway, maybe. What are we going to do? Walk, I suppose. We going to miss the exams? Ida said nothing. Are we? Probably. But we have to do something, Felix cried. Ida peered out through the windshield. It was so spattered with leaves and mud she couldn't see anything. Suddenly a face appeared at the side door. Felix and Ida jumped. Tom, his hair plastered down with rain, was standing there. Mary was by his side. What you doing? Tom asked, grinning. Playing hooky? Now, hooky is when you're skipping school. Not in school when you're supposed to be. Ida didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Want a lift? Tom said. I'm pretty sure old Ruckus can carry us all. They were the last ones to get to school, but Miss Sedgwick had not yet arrived. The rain had probably delayed her, too. Ida looked around. Natasha had lit the lamps. Herbert had started the fire. The room was neat, save for a few muddy footprints on the floor. Thank you, everyone. Let's take our seats. Ida went to the teacher's desk and made sure that sharp pencils were ready and that the blackboard was clean and supplied with chalk. There was a knock on the door. Felix ran to open it. It was Miss Sedgwick. This time, aside from her purse, she carried a briefcase and an umbrella. May I come in, Miss Bidson? She asked. Yes, please, and I'm just Ida today. Miss Sedgwick looked at Ida's wet hair and smiled. Have you been swimming again? She asked. The rain, Ida said lamely. My car ran off the road. Tom and Mary had to rescue us. Oh, dear, said Miss Sedgwick. Can you take the exam? I want to, Felix said. Me too, said Ida. Miss Sedgwick smiled broadly, then said, Then we had best begin. Tom, that is your name? Yes, ma'am. As the day progresses, I'd like you to keep the fire going. Ida went to her old place on the bench next to Tom. He gave her an encouraging smile. Feeling very tense, Ida tried to smile back but barely succeeded. Miss Sedgwick opened her briefcase. There are 2 parts to your exams, she announced to the students. There are written sections. She held up some little booklets. And there are recitations and board exercises. When I call your name, please close your test books completely. Come forward to the desk for these exercises. I'll start with the youngest and work my way up. I see your teacher, Miss Bidson, has some pencils ready for you. Excellent. Now, children, I've put each of your names on the cover of the proper test booklet. Please look to make sure you have your own, she said as she passed them out. When everything was ready, she took a handbell from her bag. When I ring this, begin. When I ring it again, we'll take rest, recess, and so forth. Now, ding, 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 begin. The children opened their booklets. Natasha and Tom immediately began to write. Taking a deep breath, Ida quickly leafed through her booklet. The table of contents listed exams in writing, reading, spelling, grammar, arithmetic, geography, U.S. history, and science. Ida then opened the book at random and came upon geography. The first question was, compare South America to North America in terms of size, shape, principal products, and population. Ida's stomach lurched. Miss Sedgwick called, Felix Bidson, please come forward and let me hear your ABCs. Nervously, Ida turned to arithmetic. The first question was, a farmer hired a man and a boy at a yearly expense of $480. The man received $25 a month. What part of the $480 did the boy receive? Ida groaned inwardly and then looked around the room. By the teacher's desk, Felix was reciting the alphabet in a loud sing-song. Everyone else was bent over their tests. Ida could hear the soft scratching of pencils, the rub of erasers. Her damp hair made her scalp itch. Panic gripped her. She was wasting precious time. You have to pass, she scolded herself. You must start. Picking up a pencil, she turned to the front page of the test booklet. Reading. Choose a poem you have learned this year from your reader. Provide the title, the author, the dates of his or her birth, and if such is the case, his or her death. Write out all the stanzas of the poem. Then write a brief essay as to why the poem is important to you. I can do that, Ida thought with enormous relief, and began to write. The day seemed to race by. Even though the rain had stopped by morning recess, no one wanted to be out for long other than to stretch and drink a cup of water. Lunch was much the same. Food was bolted, not eaten. After lunch, Mary and Felix went to play outside because their tests were finished. The others continued. At 2:30 in the afternoon, Miss Sedgwick rang the bell. Ding, 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 ding. Half an hour, she informed them. Check your work. Then, ding, ding, ding. 5 minutes. Make sure your name is on everything. Finally, ding, 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 the last bell. Please write your postbox number under your name on your booklet's front cover, she instructed. That done, Miss Sedgwick collected the booklets and packed them away. How will we know if we passed? Ida asked. I shall start grading them tomorrow. When I have finished them all, you'll be informed by mail. She offered an encouraging smile and left. Ida went up to the teacher's desk. Everyone was looking at her. In all her life, she had never felt so drained. I guess that's it, she said. Thank you for working so hard. I'm sure everyone passed. The children, too tired to say anything, filed outside. After everyone else left, Ida remained looking over the empty schoolroom. It seemed strange without students. She wasn't sure what she felt most, sad or weary. Taking up her father's clock and sheepskin from the desk drawer, as well as her lunch pail from the girls' wardrobe, Ida walked outside. Tom was waiting along with Mary and Felix. How'd you do? Tom asked Ida as she closed the door behind her. I don't know, she confessed. Then she looked more carefully at the three of them. They seemed very somber. Is something the matter? She asked. Tom grinned. Thought maybe you'd want us to help pull your car out of the mud.